wonderful thing he did for us. He tried to break it into four specific areas where we can have as headings to be able to deal with psychology of religion. So part of the first part it dealt with was the definition of religion. And we know averagely, if we want to define religion, what's okay is back. Thank you very much. So I'm handing over to Pastor B. Pastor B, please take over. Thank you.
Okay, sorry for the technology itch. I want to believe maybe in another 10 minutes, I should be able to wrap up so that we can have Mommy Alade Shida to walk us through our session. One of the things I promised on the platform that I would also do is to highlight those areas. For those of us who joined actually later in the course of the meeting, we try to scope all we are to do today. And based on that scope, we have been running the journey. So I think where we stopped was on religious experience. And we're trying to see the definitions. Okay, I think I've moved past the definition of religious experience. Sorry, just a minute. Okay, I was trying to talk about the characteristics. That was what I went to highlight on the material. So for the characteristics, okay, I think I stopped that, sorry, I stopped that the elements. I've explained to us the three elements: a sense of union with the divine, a sense of dependence on the divine, and a sense of the supernatural, of separateness from the divine. These are the three elements that we have in the religious experience. And these three elements were propounded by Stephen C. Evans. Like I mentioned to us, virtually everything in this whole course, you have a scholar who brought about it. So to help our understanding, what I'm also doing is that I'm going to share with us that same material. I know a lot of us have the material, but I'll share the material with us and I'll highlight them. Pope, if you can enable me, I can share my screen so that everybody can see. I'll share the material on our platform so that helps our reading. You just go to where you have the red highlights and we read from the red highlights, and we don't have to read all of the whole material. Okay, so while Pope enables me and I can share my screen, I want to go on to the next scope that I shared with us. Aside
observation,
elements,
please.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to suggest, as it is, you have promised to share it on our platform. I want to suggest that we should just ride on, just go on and explain.
Okay.
Then later we can go back just to save time, because
okay, I should just go on and do the explanation.
Yeah, just do the explanation and just do us the pleasure of putting it on the platform. Then we'll read, just like you said, the red lines. I think it will grant us a speed. This is my suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. I think the next thing I have on my list there is talking about the basic characteristics. And for the basic characteristics, we have the transient. And the transient, what does this say? It tells us that the experience is temporal, although the impression may last forever, but the experience of religious experience is temporal. The next one is that it tells us that the experience is beyond individual human control. So that's another characteristics of religious experience. The next one tells us ineffable, which means that the experience cannot be adequately described with words. When you want to describe it, it goes beyond what words can describe. Then another one we have there is noetic. And noetic says that during the course of the experience, there's a new knowledge, or there's a new revelation that person is going to have as a result of the religious experience. That's the next characteristics. And number 5 there is passive. And what passive says, it says the experience happens to an individual largely without the consciousness of that particular person. Then there is a number 6. That number 6 was a contribution from Rudolph. And the contribution from Rudolph, to mention and help direct our reading, is actually from page 10 down to page 11. Rudolph actually talks about nominus, and the nominus talks about the fear, the amazement, the surprise, the attraction of attention that you get. When you have the religious experience, it says it brings a fearful feeling. It brings about an amazement, it brings about a surprise. So that's the nominus. That nominus is number 6 characteristics, but that was brought by Rudolph into it. I also wrote there, I said we have basic views. I wrote there that we have basic views, and on basic views, we have the nonity. And nonity says that religious experience is an illusion, that it is something unreal. Then I also have another one that talks about that it is real and valid. And then we are there to say that God is in the business of engaging man, from time to time. Another view that I have here on my own list is that the sacred, okay, this one is just, sorry, just a minute. All right. Sorry, I think I missed my lines there. I may come back to it later. Okay, so I think
Pastor B,
that's on
Pastor B,
the
can I say
on
something?
religious experience. Yes, I'm listening. Yeah.
I think what I have, in my own.
What did you say, ma'am? I'm listening, ma'am.
Master, I just want to make a little contribution if it's in line with what we are talking about. Talking about the views of a religious experience, where we have the first one is that it is illusion, and that's formulated, the formulation of human. Then the second one is real and valid. The experience that is real and valid. The reasons why it is real and valid is number 1, human consisting of material substance can't. I wrote something, I can't really understand it. Or being without himself.
Yes, I can help you read it out.
Yeah.
Cannot conceive or claim an experience of a force outside itself, outside its material substance.
Thank you. What I'm just trying to say is that the reasons are under the real and valid, if I'm right.
No.
You have about 4 reasons there. After
no,
you
that's
have
not
talked
under
about the
real.
views.
That's under nonity.
Under nonity.
Okay.
There are reasons for nonity.
Okay, there are reasons for nonity. Okay.
Hello, man. There are reasons for nonity.
There. Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah, there are 4 reasons. The second one says that the sacred book. Yes, exactly. Those reasons are reasons for the nonity.
Okay, sir.
So, okay, I think with that, I can wrap up on religious experience, then go to the third part. The third part is on the psychology of religion. And I also talk about the approaches to religion, the research focus of the research focus of psychology of religion, and the reason for the study. And under psychology of religion, we said is a scientific study. I showed us also in this material for those of us who want to go and read up. Psychology of religion is point number 3 on the book. So you have it from page 4. From page 4, you have the journey along the psychology of religion. It also says that it is an avenue for the study of religion on a verifiable manner or verifiable means of psychotherapeutic interventions in human life. You know, these are various definitions. This one was given by James. Like I told us, that we can always quote any of the scholars. These other guy, Wright and Fuller, they said psychology of religion study of religion studies religion and its impact on human behavior, thought, and feelings in relation to group and individuals in the society. Like I will always advise, once we can have 2 definitions in our head, we can move on so that we don't overwhelm our head. We have Oates 973. He also gave his own definition around psychology of religion. The next thing I will talk about is the approaches. And the approaches was given, we can see them here, the approaches were given by Oates. And he said we have the functional approach, and we also have the substantive approach. Now, the functional approach talks about the roots or motivation for religious behavior. The substantive talks about the fruits or the overt experience or expression of such motivation. And even in the functional approach, it's been divided into 2. We have the defensive protection tradition, we have the growth and the realization tradition. And each of all of these things, we have them, you can see them, I highlighted them in red here. You know, so the approaches that we have there are 2 approaches, the functional approach and the substantive approach. The functional approach is just talking about the roots or what motivates our religious behavior, while the substantive approach emphasizes on the outcome, you know, or overt expression when that motivation, you know, pushes us into the religious experience. And then I think the next thing I talked about is the research focus of religious experience. And it says there's a relationship between religion and developmental needs of a person. You know, that's one of those around the research focus. One of the things that pushes us into the psychology of religion is that there is a relationship between religion and human developmental need. So that pushes us to study psychology of religion. Another one is the influence of religious experience on religious belief, as well as the content of the belief dynamism. That's another research focus. That's another reason that makes us go into psychology, into studying the psychology of religion. I mean, there are these parts that I am highlighting as I'm talking to us. That's the parts I'm actually talking about now. There are about 8 points, you know, in all. That gives the research focus. The relationship between religiosity and prejudice, the factor responsible for variation in beliefs among religious persons, about 8 of them in all. So we can just check them out. That will help us with research focus, reasons why psychology of religion, came to be, or why we had to do that study. And I think the last part, which is the reasons for the study of psychology of religion. Number 1, to enhance our counseling as a minister. It helps us to understand the role of religion, the role religion plays in human life. Number 3, it helps us understand the way individual copes with various situations and circumstances of life. You know, these are part of the reasons why we study psychology of religion. After that highlight, the last aspect are just on the psychologists, the various guys who are Rudolph and the like, Rudolph, William James, Carl Jung, Sigmund Freud, Jonathan Edwards, Abraham Maslow, Alfred Adler, Erik Erikson, Karl Marx. All of them are various psychologists who have written different things. In this material, like I told us on page 4 and I think on page, let me see that page where Rudolph wrote something. Sorry, this does part and I'll be rounding up.
I think we can figure it out later. You have a try, actually, my brother. We can figure that page out.
Pastor Cecilia, when is your sleeping time?
Hello?
No, I'm just asking Pastor Cecilia, when is her sleeping time? Maybe it's already at bedtime.
Okay.
My dear sister, I no lie you. After the kakri during the day, by this time, once after news.
This one that your village people are now, the thing is off and on.
So as we're about to, as we're rounding up, we are getting prepared for New Testament now. But just to round up, Pastor Professor Labi has actually gone offline. So just to add to what basically needed to put a closure is the same thing that we have been talking about. But basically, we should come to terms to understand that there could be events that can preempt religious experience. There could be events that can preempt religious experience, or events that we can engage in that will now take us to have religious experience. We know sometimes there's the mediated and then the unmediated types, but this one generally there are some causes. So, and each of these causes come under a heading, and the heading it comes under is that every of the cause of religious experience actually affects the flesh, affects the body, affects the connection that we have to the earth. So our body connection to the earth, it actually affects it. So some of the causes we can pray to actually have religious experience. We can use music. For pastors, we'll say praise and worship. And there are different levels, there are different frequency we can hit, or a crescendo that we can hit in music that will take us from where we are into the supernatural or into the cosmos. We have meditation also, can also be used. Then we have there's what we call body mortification. That body mortification, sometimes it can come by you deliberately having marks or cuts on your body, and it can also come from fasting. It can come from vigil, and then there's what we call, apart from meditation, there's what we call the moment of silence. Actually, this one leads to mastery. Moment of silence, where you use silence and then you concentrate on your inner self, and then you move into a form of religious experience. So with that, we'd just like to take only 2 or 3 questions before we move with speed to New Testament. We just trust that our prof would have done a dated work, so we'll just glean directly from her and ask questions. So the floor is open in no particular order. Brief, sharp, precise, 3 questions. We deal with it, and then we'll move to empty. Thank you very much, pastors.
Okay, I want to take up from where you stopped. You asked the fasting, vigil, silence, dream. Which other ones?
We have music, praise and worship.
Okay.
We have music, but as Christian, as pastors, we say praise and worship because there are different forms of music and different experiences of those forms of
We
music.
have fasting, vigil, silence, dream, music. Are there any other ones I've omitted? Okay,
The
if that is, I also want us to look at mediated and unmediated religious experience. I think he has emphasized that a couple of. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we are.
Okay. I think we should also look at that mediated and unmediated religious experience in page 10. He has emphasized that the mediated experience is when you have an agency, a human agency or any other, intermediary that led you to the experience, then that's a mediated experience. But his question has always been, is it possible to have a religious experience without a mediator or somebody in between? So he may ask that kind of question, so you should be able to prepare your answer. Essentially, the answer is no, but you should be able to have a support argument to drive home your points because they are repeated that a few times in the class. So that's one of the things I wanted us to take notice of.
So, Pastor Obong, what are the points that you can use to support your argument that you can't have religious experience without a mediator? What are some of the points, please? Thank you.
Okay. Every experience has a background. It's a bit Joshua that said he was born again inside his mother's womb. Somebody must have led you to Jesus. Somebody must have prayed for you to have that experience, even though there's no connectors. So you have people praying that certain things will happen. So even in cases of Muslims who have a revelation of Jesus and they've never met Jesus before, but when they have the revelation, they recognize Jesus. That experience is as a result of people's prayer. You can't divulge it from the fact that there were intercessors at work doing that. I think when we're in a men missionary union, the pastor of the Citadel Church, what's his name again? I keep forgetting his name. Former Latter Day pastor. He said he was in the Yaba Baptist Church to take photographs, and he saw the image of Jesus. He was a Muslim. Then he saw the image of Jesus at the back of the pastor in the pulpit, and he said he has seen it before. The day they did his Muslim circumcision, he was 10 years old. So when he saw it again, he knew that this is Jesus. And somebody can say that's an unmediated experience. But the counter argument is that for every Muslim out there that has never encountered somebody talking about Jesus, there's an intercessor in the place of prayer begging on his behalf that he should have an experience. So in the real sense of it, it couldn't be argued that there is any form of religious experience that is not mediated. And Doctor has always been harping on it. I just feel that we should bring it up and brainstorm about it. It's not really a big issue in Benin coming.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pastor Obong. The way he put it in class, he said this is an issue for reflection. Can we say that there is an holistic, unmeditated religious experience in reality? That is how he actually put it in class. Then I can remember greatly when I was trying after class to have a discussion around with him. So that is what he thinks, that is what he believes. So we should also have that at the back of our mind, that despite the fact there are two types of religious experience, one is meditated and one is unmeditated. To him, there's only one type at the wrong. But for short-term explanation,
not meditated, unmediated.
So unmediated.
Unmediated.
Thank you very much. We're all learning. Unmediated religion experience. So it's more like at the long run, at the short run, when the person is explaining, the person might not have the holistic view around that. So thank you very much. Note, we would like to move to NT, but we should know that we have about 4 more minutes on this. I don't know that we'll use the 4 minutes. When it knocks off, we'll come back and then continue. But if not, I hand over to our prof, Pastor Mrs. Busayomi Aladeshida.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you very
yeah,
much,
yeah,
ma'am.
yeah, 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 yeah. Welcome, Prof, man. Right on.
Prof, say the way you sang my name.
He was a demanding.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sister.
I prayed concerning this tutorial, and my prayer was that whatever will dwell on this night in the two courses will be pointers to exam question, will be refreshers for our exam question, and it will really, and as we see the question, the answers will quickly flow in. I don't want to take the place of Dr. Olafemi, but I'll quickly just say, let's start. Towards the end of the class, he gave us the hint that he's going to ask 7 questions and we'll answer 4. And our number 1 question will be compulsory. And he highlighted areas of concentrations, the Jewish institutions, the Jewish parties, Jewish literature, and then all the background to the world of New Testament, and then the need to study New Testament. And from one of the questions that he gave, one of the test questions, the importance of the study of New Testament to pastors. I will start from the need for the study of New Testament. It's highlighted in our handout. We'll just try and run through it so that when you hear something like that, or you are faced with questions like that, something can just come up. He said the New Testament is centered on the life and teachings of Jesus Christ. So one of the need to study it is because we believe in Jesus Christ, we are his followers, and the New Testament is centered on his life and teaching. So it's one of the reasons. And Jesus Christ, whose greatness is not limited to Christian faith only, it also extends to other religions. That's why we study New Testament. Number 2 is that the writers of the New Testament were persuaded and convinced that God reveals himself ultimately in Jesus Christ. So the first 2 reasons we'll state is about Jesus. 1 is his greatness that is beyond Christian faith. 2, the writers of the New Testament believes that God ultimately revealed himself in Jesus Christ. So there is a need to study that testament. Number 3 is that the New Testament is a living book because the followers of Christ today believe that a person must encounter God through Jesus Christ as revealed in the New Testament. So the third reason why we have, or there is a need to study the New Testament, is because Jesus says that he is the way that leads to God. So we must study it to know to know him, sort of. That a person must encounter God through Jesus
Prof,
Christ.
observation, please.
I'm with you, ma.
Some of these points under the needs, they are straightforward. Is it possible for you to, as usual, give us acronym that can aid us? I'm just looking at it. It's just something that you can look at. But if we have the acronym, if you can help us with acronym, then we'll just be fast. And
I tried, but it's like I believe it's long. It's about 8 points. So I was just thinking that if one has a general understanding of it, it's easy to bring out the points.
We have less than a minute though.
Sir,
We have less than a minute left now.
left for this one. So let me just read through this on before